everyone. How are you doing today? I'm so glad to be back with our regular weekly video. You probably noticed that for the past couple of weeks, I have been busy doing different speaking engagements, participating in different networking events. So if you have been waiting for the third cultural dimension that we have been talking about, this video is for you. And so we talked about independence versus interdependence. We talked a little bit about status and so hierarchical orientation, right? And now we are finally talking about risk versus certainty. And this is one of my favorite cultural dimensions. And you might be wondering why I have a favorite. Well, it's actually because I am on such an extreme of the spectrum that to me, this dimension has always been the clearest because it's pretty much a given, the fact that I meet people that are very different from me. And so this has made it always very clear for me what this dimension means. And it might be different for you, but yeah, everyone can have a favorite, right? So anyway, this dimension is the answer to the question, how do I make decision when I'm faced with uncertainty or ambiguity? Okay, which, by the way, is so present in life, in business, in our work environment, personal situation. The reality is that the vast majority of the time, we do not have all the information that we would want to eliminate risk, right? And so when we are facing this situation, what do? Are we the type that jumps and I'll figure out later the consequences? So am I risk oriented? Or I am much more the type of, okay, let me collect my data first, and then slowly I decide how to get on the other side, because first I need to lay the steps very, very carefully, so that I don't tumble and fall. Okay, so this is what this dimension is all about. And since I have shared with you that I'm on one extreme, I'll be honest, I am very, very fast in my decision making, which as every dimension, right? Like we have always said, there is no good or bad thing. Of course, it means that sometimes I might overlook details, right? And so, especially because, as you know, I have a background in engineering and in quality. And guess what? Engineering and quality is all about detailing. It's all about accuracy. It's all about, being very precise with your data. That has posed more than once the question for me about, okay, why is nobody following as fast as I do, right? Because in my world, there used to be people that are a little bit more on the side of the uncertainty side, like the certainty side, wanting to have more accurate data before taking an action. By the way, probabilistically speaking, as I said, I'm on such an extreme in this dimension that no matter where I go, I am pretty sure I will find people that operate a little bit more cautiously than me, to be perfectly honest. But yes, I do recognize, and this is the reason why this dimension is so straightforward to me, right? So now, we always talked about the fact that, okay, however, right, the important things and the reason why we talk about this dimension is about finding ways to come together, maybe as a team, right? And creating a culture where everyone can operate effectively, efficiently, and be their true authentic self and give the best results for the team. Or if you are in a different culture because you have moved across countries, now all of a sudden you might be in a very different environment. So how do you adapt so that you don't lose yourself, but at the same time, you understand what is the cultural norm in your new place, right? So related to that, what does this dimension tell us? When I look at the globe, right, and I look specifically, for example, at Italian and American, I will tell you the American culture is much more on the side of going fast and risk more, right? How do you know that in corporate culture? I'll tell you how you know that. Hear the language. We need to generate quick wins. What are our low-hanging fruits? Give me the bullet points, right, of where you are going with this, right? All of these words and expression tell us that what can we do to achieve results fast, right? And it's not by chance that companies in the US, public company in the US, need to report quarterly data, right? Because the pace at which this culture goes is very fast versus, I don't know if you know these, things have changed during the years, but in Japanese culture, companies needed to report on a much longer basis, like even 5 years back during the days. And the reason why that was happening is because in Japanese culture, it's so much more important to make constant progress, continuous improvement, being lean in our operations, right? All of this terminology. Japan is big in terms of quality mindset, but that quality mindset that Toyota brought to light, let me say, works well there because there is a cultural component behind. And I've seen many companies that have tried to apply this Japanese mantra, let me say, in a very different environment, right? And they are not as effective. Why is that? Because the culture is not there, so that these principles can really stick. This also is the American optimism, that idea, right, that things will turn out fine. If you are an Italian, you know exactly what I'm talking about. Maybe if you have always lived in the US, you are thinking like, what is it? Well, I guarantee you it's night and day, the optimism that pervade American society and culture versus the much more like, okay, let's think this through reality of, for example, Italian. And I was discussing this a few days ago with one of my clients that is an expat, and it was saying how this is one of the things that he loves the most about American culture. And we took the assessment, and he was actually much more certainty oriented, and I'm like, I think something is rubbing off of you, of this new culture you're in. So it was pretty interesting to see that. So that's what I asked for you guys today. Again, risks versus certainty. How do I face a situation and make choices when I'm faced with ambiguity or uncertainty? I'm Simona Pappalardo, and I'm a leadership coach who helps frustrated global leaders and expats become fully competent, culturally competent, so that they can engage better with their teams and build success in their careers. If you need any help in understanding better new culture because your company is going through a merger and acquisition, or you want to or you are a leader and you want to create a culture in your team where everyone can perform at their best, don't hesitate to reach out to me, Simona at coachingwithsimona.com. I'll talk to you next week. Bye.